I suppose this is the end. All the roads have led here, and now it's almost over. Where do I even start? Have I done everything in my power to protect this city? I don't know anymore. Sometimes it seems as if every criminal we put behind bars are replaced the next day by 10 more. It seems as though each new costume criminal is worse than the last. The terrors that they dream up more horrific with each scheme. I don't know how much I have left to give this city. And so I'm leaving this message. I want my final words to be this. It's time for the bat to end.
All right, everybody. Hello, welcome back to the Batfeed. And I've got Russell here with me once again.
Hello, everybody.
So we're back at it. We're going to jump into a little bit of a Gotham 1919 to 1939 chat because season 3 of my YouTube series is starting back up, and the pre-order just opened back up for, was it the last run of your book?
Yeah, this will be the last run that Giant Panda King does for Gotham, 1919 to 1939.
So make sure to go grab that. I'll probably link that in the description for anybody who's interested. Yeah, do you want to, I guess just to start off, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you've been up to and what projects you've been working on, as much as you can?
Yeah, because I think last time I spoke to you and your audience was over a year ago, and I was on tour at the time.
Yeah.
So that tour I wrapped up of Australia, and then we did a few other things. Like we had some clients we had to do, and we're trying to desperately finish our feature film where, you know, for us, because we have so much going on and there are so many different fields, we kind of, if we miss our window to finish something, it has to wait till we get another window, essentially. And the thing is, we never expected to be as busy as we were. Like during COVID, I kind of put all these new different business opportunities, well, you know, ideas into play. And I said, oh, if one works, great. But we had like 3 or 4 work. And we're busier than we've ever been at the moment. So what happened was I came over with one of my shows, which I've been trying to kind of get up in America for a number of years now. It's based on Star Wars. It's called The Empire Strikes Back. Some people might know of that show. But anyway, we took it to San Fran, and then that kind of just took over my life for a while. And I lived in the US pretty much a big chunk of last year and a bit of this year. When I say lived, I was just staying in hotels and working in theaters and things like that. But but it was really successful. There's currently 3 or 4 versions of the show running in the US right now, in New York, Chicago, Seattle, and I forget if there's another one or not. I think Portland might be the other one. I'm not too sure, but they're really taking off. People seem to like them. So what I've done, just because we're falling behind a bit, I've stepped aside from being the kind of day-to-day director of that show, just because it's a full-time job and everything else would be kind of neglected. And as a creative director of the company, I kind of have to really apply my time the best it can. So now I'm kind of playing catch up to finish a lot of our projects that we have outstanding so we can start the new ones, which everyone's trying to get us on. The good news is that you guys are about to get a lot of stuff from us over the next few years. And I just want to make a point, like Giant Panda King's focus is to make original content. Doing this like other people's IP, our interpretations was just kind of fun way where we could show people our aesthetics and our style and whatnot like that. So there is a end to all the stuff we're kind of doing at the moment, like all the, you know, parody or, you know, re-envisions or something like that. We've got about 2.5 years worth of making more of that stuff. And then from then on, we're kind of focusing on original content almost 100%. But in that 2.5 years, we've got a lot of plans. So, you know, we've been working on the Ghostbusters book. I've been working on Themyscira and Metropolis. I've been working on the Artifacts box. All these are at different stages of manufacturing kind of thing. Now, with that, we're also going to be trying to raise Giant Panda King's profile. So I'm launching a YouTube series soon. And if the first video kind of kicks, then I'll continue it going. But basically, it's us reinterpreting films in Hollywood and whatnot, which kind of dropped the ball, and how we would have done it, how we would have fixed it. And yes, we'll be tackling all the classics, what everyone always asks about. So we'll be doing a version of Star Wars, we'll be doing a version of X-Men, Mad Max, Tank Girl, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like a bunch of stuff, all the classics, and just show you exactly how we would kind of do that. These will be shot in conjunction when we shoot the books as well. So we will be kind of creating a whole bunch of content out of like the same kind of work schedule. So hopefully when we launch those, you'll get a lot of content coming your way on YouTube to, you know, to digest for free, and also for you know, if you want to buy the books or the Artifacts box or any of the products we're producing. I'll just quickly touch on Metropolis and Themyscira because that's what everyone keeps emailing about. It is coming. I have finished all the research. I have finished the page count and everything like that, and all the character lists and all that. I just basically need to start the long form writing, which is, you know, taking all that research and all my kind of notes and everything and forming into a book, which, you know, it's a tedious task doing that, but hard work's done. And then we'll also have to shoot it, obviously. And we're looking at close to 900 characters all up, from history and from the comics and all sorts of stuff. So it's going to take a bit of time, but my theory on that is I'm going to do it as if I'm shooting a film. So I need to create like a 3 to 4 month period where I could just shoot the shit out of it, you know? So I want to make sure it's all done and ready to go, and I have enough capital to start that, because these are self-funded. Like, yeah, we do pre-orders, but they're usually just to know how many we're getting printed. Generally speaking, I have to kind of go and work jobs and save money to kind of make this stuff. And everyone thinks we're a big company. We're not. You know, well, there's a couple of people. I'm pretty much the only one who works full time, you know, on this stuff. Everyone else is kind of casual and whatnot. And we work in like, you know, bursts on different projects and jump from one to the other. But we're getting there. We're catching up. Everything's in some form of production at the moment. We're trying to drop it at the end of the year, but we're just trying to juggle our workflow resources because we don't want to promise it this year and then, you know, open up the pre-order and then it be like a month or 2 months late, you know. So we learned that on the last books with the delays from Korea, that we kind of, we just want to make sure we definitely have everything, and we, you know, don't get people excited and they have to kind of keep maintaining that excitement for months afterwards. So we just want to kind of make sure that if we sell it, we're done. And we don't want to have this stuff on our website forever. So we are kind of more like art prints. Like, we announce that we're doing a title. We kind of want to just print what people are interested in, get them out there. We might print a few extra more just to make it, you know, because it's cost effective. But we don't want to sit with like, you know, 2,000 books in our warehouse. I don't want to deal with distributors or bookstores or comic stores. You can only get it through our website, and you can only get it in small bursts windows. So when we say it's limited, we do mean it's limited. This will be the last run of Gotham, purely for the fact that I don't have to work the resources to kind of keep a store running continuously. You know, I'm not Amazon or any of those things, and I don't really want to sell through those companies either. They don't appreciate what we're trying to do with, you know, Gotham, as far as creating a book, you know, something special, which, you know, you can pull off the shelf 20 years later and still find something what you kind of may have missed the first few times you read it. But I digress. One special thing, which we might use as a throw it back to you, is Batfeed and I are going to be collaborating on a small, short form version of the book, like as far as videos are concerned. Kind of like same way what Batfeed does with his longer form documentaries, but there's a lot of himself in that one. Like, you know, he fills in the gaps. With these short form ones, these for more TikTok reels and, you know, stories and things like that. These are just going to be like a pretty regular dose of the characters and the lore from the book. But if you want the complete story, you're never going to kind of fully get it unless someone does a video, because the story will be, parts of the story in the Artifacts box will only be included in the artifacts box. Parts of the story in the videos will only be in the videos in another format. So it's about like learning of different formats and following different. It's kind of like our crossovers when I used to collect comics. You had to get 10 different titles to figure out exactly what the full story was. But yeah, so Batfeed's kind of coming and joining us for a limited time, but we're going to be creating hopefully some awesome content.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing too. I think a lot of people don't realize, because we've talked about this before. My series on YouTube is like the Batfeed version of that universe. Yours is obviously the main one, and it's got a lot more of that like BuzzFeed Unsolved kind of thing, or like true crime, where you don't always know the full story. Whereas like in the Batfeed 1919 universe, it's like, yeah, I've been filling in all the blanks and stuff, and pulling from historical figures and other things like that, but it's not necessarily like canon, so to speak.
Well, that's the thing. It's real life. Real life, you don't really have canon in real life in the sense that it's left up to people's interpretation. And look,
Right.
you look at how many true crime videos on YouTube these days, and they all cover the same stories, and the different ways they present it to kind of step out, and those details, depending on the person telling the story, do change. And that's history, and that's how history is. Very biased. If you read all the reports from history. So it's in a way, I always laugh about this because when I look at you and like sometimes I see some of your videos you use, some of the B-roll you use, I kind of go, that's not from that period. Oh, you just made that black and white, kind of thing. But that's also kind of so legitimate because that's what the true crime YouTube videos kind of do. And I'm like, is he playing 3D chess? Like, is he parodying the YouTube video thing by doing some of this stuff? So like I don't, by kind of doing it at that level where you're just grinding them out, you actually are doing something pretty authentic to the real crime YouTube series will get made anyway. So I find that intentional or not, I find that very hilarious. It's that kind of, and I don't take any insult by this, by the way, but it's like The Room, that movie, the Room. And the course it's like people go, it's a bad film. I'm like, well, why is it bad? And I ask people that, and they go, I said, no, because people laugh at it and they have a great time. They're entertained during it. It's made money. It's been very successful in what it is. It might have not been intentionally meant to be that, but it is that. So then the definition is it, I suppose, like yours, is it like generally like part of that YouTube space and it's a legitimate kind of video of that, or it's some fan making it, a fan kind of doco. But it's also both at the same time, which I find fascinating as well.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun piecing them together. And I mean, to use The Room as another example, I mean, like it had I think they made like a biopic about it not that long ago, James Franco.
Yeah.
And that was, I'd never heard of it.
The Disaster Artist.
Yeah. And my generation, like I'd never heard of The Room until I heard that was coming out, and then I looked into it, and then I went and watched The Room, and I was like, wow.
It was more of an early 2000s thing,
Mm-hmm. But back to the videos too. I just wanted to shout that out to everyone else. I'm like, that's the secret project that I've been hinting towards all this time, is we're going to be making those short form videos on TikTok and Reel and some other things too. So.
And basically, I always was going to do something like this at some point, but again, I don't have enough time. And Jake's always kind of shown from day one that he has a passion for the world we created. And if I'm going to trust somebody to help me kind of put this stuff out there, it could be a mutual beneficial thing. Like, Batfeed can become more aligned with our brand, and we can help build his channel, but definitely he's going to help us build our network as well. And if I was going to reward anybody, it's the people who show interest and show loyalty and who help us out. I'd rather help them out when we have the chance. And then definitely, Jacobs, you've got a lot of natural talent when it comes to this, but you can tell you're still learning, because if you watch your videos, they just jump up in quality each one. And there's a fair few of experimentation in there where you've gone, okay, I've tried that, I'm not doing that again, and then you've backed away. So learning, that's great, but like hopefully through this, because it's now boiling that down to the most pure form of storytelling, down to like TikTok videos, just getting the bulk of it out. we could try something new with the format and develop it and see where we go. And that'll be a big part of the audience telling us what they like and what they don't like. But the goal is to have a lot more short form content coming out for you guys to consume what we can just bust out. Like I'm doing this series called kind of, I don't even know what if I'm going to call it, but I'm just calling it Fix It Up at the moment, where it's a short form one where I'm just going to talk about wasted opportunities in films, like just one little thing here or there, you know, and or TV shows or something. And they're just going to be simple little things, but they're going to be like, oh shit, that was a wasted opportunity, you know? Because I generally think our storytelling is getting taken away from us, you know, and if we don't kind of embrace new ways of storytelling or figure out how we're going to keep people excited about new movies or new games or new comics or new books or anything like that, we're going to lose that. Because at the moment, everyone's just relying on AI as like they're either scared of it or they're embracing it, you know? And that perfection what AI brings is going to seem so unauthentic soon. So I think we're at like a cusp of like a new creative, exciting period where you're going to have perfection celebrated on one side and then anarchy celebrated on the other. And I think the art that's going to come out of that is going to be fantastic. So I'm excited to kind of be in a position where I'm going to help be part of that conversation. And yeah, for the next few years, there's a lot of things to finish for me, what I've promised everybody, the books, I want to create a couple of more stage shows and one or two more films at my current level. And then basically after that, I think I've mentioned this before, we're trying to set up a streaming platform. So you'll see us doing more about film with the YouTubes, the YouTube series, the long form one, and then the short form ones. But there'll be a bunch of stuff coming out, and that's just trying to gauge you guys to see that we do actually make other formats as well, not just books and things like that. So hopefully that kind of within a few years, you'll see me hopefully launching my own low budget movie studio / streaming platform. And it's meant to be low rent. It's going to be free, and it's meant to be something which is just making shit what no one else is making, and doing unique takes on it, actually putting some like fucking attitude and some danger back into content. You can tell everything getting made at the moment is made by a committee. It's just sad. Like, I grew up in an age where I went to the cinema to see films, and you had like lions roaring and, fanfare and, like Pegasus running towards the screen as your like studio IDs at the start and get you excited, like, da, 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 da. And now you've got Netflix going, like everything about it is, there's no magic there. And I always say my books, I make them because no one will ever trust me or a person like me to make a comic book movie or something like that the way it should be made. There's just too many people involved. So that's why I do the books.
Yeah, that's something.
Also, I just have to warn you. Sorry, just before we continue, I just have to warn you, I did take my ADHD medication. They've just come on, so I'm very talkative, way more than usual.
Right. So, happy to hear it. Yeah, no, the whole thing with like streaming services, just like cranking stuff out all the time. And then you've got like Netflix scares the shit out of me every time that the logo sounds out because of how loud it is. It's kind of like the old THX.
But also, yeah, but even that was like a build up, and that was only really mainly used in the cinema to show the 5.1. But the whole thing with these days is like Netflix and all that, they're literally run by a committee. They're programmed by algorithms, which, if you look at our storytelling has always been passed down from the previous generation to the next generation. And we're kind of losing that because we're not being challenged. We're just getting shown more stuff, what they think we like, instead of trying to develop our taste, evolving our taste. I went to comics because of such a thing you had to, when I was younger, you had to track stuff down. Part of it was the chase. Part of it was talking to somebody who knew more about you and finding out more about it, stuff. Or finding that collector who passed away or was getting rid of their stuff and they've been the gatekeeper of this stuff for so long and now it gets passed over to you, So there is this like magic when it comes to that. It's like people go, oh yeah, it all looks fake CG, but it's all fake anyway, so who cares? It's like, well, no, yes or no. Like that you connect when you know when something's kind of real, like a magician on stage like David Copperfield or, whatever is doing fake stuff. He's not really flying. He's not really making a Statue of Liberty disappear. But it's up to you. It's an arrangement we have where I'm going to try and figure that out. And I'm going to let you tell me that this is actually happening, even though I know it's not true, But that's how we engage in it. That's why there's stakes in it, and that's why you kind of go, oh, "Fuck, I can't figure it out." And you kind of go, "Is he smarter than me? You know, is he more clever than me? Is he going to survive?" And when he does, you're like, "Oh," and then you might figure it out. And you're like, "Oh, I suppose, yeah, okay, that's easy." But the engagement, once you don't know once you don't know about it, that's what engages you. You know,
Yeah.
CGI. People just say, CGI." You know, they say it's computer. They can have apps what give them filters and all that kind of stuff. Like, obviously, there's so much more of a difference. But when you say it's AI and a computer does it, there is literally, it's a service. Then it's not even a tool anymore. It's just, it's like a machine, like a microwave or something. Like, it takes away any magic from craftsmen or, you know, skilled people to bring something to life. So for me, that's my big focus, whether it's the books, the live shows, or the films. And yeah, I'm finding it more and more these days that I'm just getting very disenchanted by a lot of the content getting made out there. It's just getting made to kind of service you on that day with a dopamine hit, and then that's it, you know. So I want to kind of counter all that and get back to making films. It might not be the best quality, might not have the best effects, might not have the best anything, might be really low budget, but they do have something you're not getting from anywhere else, you know, and that's a energy what they're not giving you.
Yeah, I was just learning about apologies too if you hear any thunder. There's a thunderstorm actively happening outside right now. Um, but
Sorry, if you hear any thunder on my end, it's just my dog farting.
nice. But Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, the first one, and those three movies are like notorious for using kind of awful CGI. But one of the practical effects that I thought was cool from that movie was the actual spider that bit him in the first movie was a real spider that they painted blue and red and had a person come in and train.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was like, man, dedication, I guess, to the craft. But that's like just all for the sake of not using CGI for that one scene. He wanted it to look very real. I thought that was cool.
Well, Creepshow they created a dead body, and then they filled it and grew all these. They put larvae in there and had all the cockroaches grow inside the dead body, and then eat their way out, you know, and just explode everywhere. Real cockroaches. They bred, you know, 100,000 of them or whatever for it. So the things you used to have to do because you had to do it that way, but things they last. Like practical effects last, you know, and real acting lasts, and things like that. And I don't know. I just a little bit got beam up on it after seeing Secret Invasion. I'm like, really? This is what we're getting? Bloody AI opening credits. And I didn't even know it was AI at the time. I'm like, why does this look so cheap? You know? And then I'm watching and I'm like, really? This is what we're getting? Okay.
Yeah, when I read about it,
it's just well, Secret Invasion's great, but you got to remember, like, the actual superheroes who were the ones who were the
that's what made it interesting.
And this goes just to give you an example of like things where I'll try to spice up with this like short form series. So like with Hawkeye, the TV series, they're always figuring out who's his wife and what's the secret, and you know his kids are so sheltered and everything like that, and all the secrecy. I was like, yeah, I get he's an agent of Shield, but this just seems overkill, you know. And she was Mockingbird, I believe. They were trying to allude to the fact she was Mockingbird, even though they already had a Mockingbird in Agents of Shield as well. So for me, I was looking at that going, what could you do here to make it really interesting and pay it off, you know, big? And I thought would have been cool at the end where, you know, Kate Bishop comes back to celebrate Christmas with them at their house, and they're all looking at their dad as she comes in. He goes, "It's okay, you can relax around her." Then his three kids and his wife all transform into Skrulls. And I just think that'd be a way cooler way to set up Secret Invasion, showing like Hawkeye's family are Skrulls. You know, his kids are half Skrulls, you know, and it just kind of adds more to it. And that's what they need to start doing is they need to start rewarding us for all the like little threads they've put in there, and stop kind of building it up like we're going to get all this massive expansion and then only do it in small doses. Like like the worst thing they did was the multiverse aspect, because there's no stakes after that, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why everyone goes, oh, is the multiverse going to be in my Metropolis books and stuff like that? Like any of that kind of stuff. Are all the multiverse characters? I'm like, no multiverse. I've justified the characters. and reinvented a lot of their backstories, so they're not connected to the multiverse as much.
And it's for that format probably the best way to go. Like, you don't want to open that can of worms and and something that's supposed to. I mean, you got something.
That's enough. I've got a lot of stuff. I'm like, you know, I'm doing Crisis on Infinite Worlds, but I'm talking it. That's what I'm calling it though, not on Infinite Earths, on Infinite Worlds.
Yeah.
Because it's actually in this universe.
Mhm.
Yeah, I really play certain things. So, you know, like the Crime Syndicate is going to be in Metropolis.
Yeah, I'm excited
You
for
know,
that.
so but I had to kind of make it make sense. You know, and there's so much stuff in DC world where they've just invented a character here, there, and forgotten about them. So
Yeah.
tying into like characters what used to exist and all that, that's where I kind of get a lot of the enjoyment. But it's pretty gnarly, man. Like the amount of research I've done. It's I haven't stopped researching since I announced it back in the day. I almost went crazy last year trying to research the
Yeah.
number 7 and how much the number 7 appears in DC and in the world. All my friends thought I was going crazy, but the whole point is, yeah, I do all this stuff and I spend a lot of time researching, so you guys could spend a lot of time flicking through the book, looking at the pages. At the photos. So many people I give the book to, they go, oh yeah, I've read some of it. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
They just like looking at the photos. But the more you put into the book, the more you get out of it, really. Like, you know, you can go as deep as you want and be inspired to start a YouTube channel about it. But it's, you know, for us, if I do another print of Gotham, it's not going to be for ages. Like, I'm talking years away, like maybe 3 or 4 years, if that. This will be the last print run I do. And they're very expensive to produce as far as printing. And if I can't have them sitting in my warehouse, just, you know, taking up space. So only when there's a demand, and there was enough on the like registration for people to justify printing. So we're doing that at the moment. But like, if you don't order one now, there is going to be a long wait because Metropolis of Terrascura, I am trying to do those a little bit more legitimately. Like, if I want to do those properly, I probably have to try and see if I can license the characters, maybe, because there's just so much involved in those.
Yeah.
And we'll see. But like, if you don't get a Gotham now, do not send us a message asking us, because we get everyone asking us, "So that you've got any more available? You got any more available?" We're not Amazon, guys. We're like, think of it like as an art print, you know, that the limited. You know, I only do this for fun, really. I don't make much money out of this stuff. You know, so the main thing for me is just to make sure that it gets to the right people who are going to appreciate the books. And I can't stress enough that, yeah, these little windows where we make stuff, you have to be ready for it. Because we're doing all the other books the exact same way, where we announce them and then we open pre-registrations up for about 2 weeks. And then at the end of 2 weeks, we only print pretty much what, you know, like if 1900 get ordered, we'll print 2000, obviously. But, you know, we'll round it up. But at this stage, yeah, if you don't come crying to me about getting a load that, and there will be never a digital version, guys. Ask anyone who owns the book, and they'll probably agree with me that they prefer it in the book form.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it takes away from it when you make it digital.
Too, guys, because I get that question a lot too. Is like, is this available as a PDF anywhere? I'm like, no, and it probably never will be. So make sure to jump on it if you can. If you can't, we totally understand. But also, like, you know.
But there's these videos we're making and all sorts of stuff. There's enough stuff out there. I'm sure there's heaps of Reddits with heaps of the page counts and stuff. But the difference between seeing it online like that and actually owning it, it's about having something tangible in your hand. If you don't care about that, then you can just look up what the bootleg stuff online. I'm sure there's stuff out there. But if you want the real thing in your hand, you have to order it. You know, and they're not cheap, unfortunately, because they're not cheap to make. Which goes to a question you asked me earlier. Like, I keep going, is Killer Moth in it? Is this person in it? Is this person in it? And they're in the universe, but are they featured in the book with their own page? Not necessarily. I've got designs for everybody and backstories and everything, but everyone, the same people ask me that, I always say complain about the price, you know. And for me, you know, you got to look at it this way. Like, one of my books, not Gotham, but one of my Wookiee Erotica, my Star Wars one. With that one, we said that people bought that off us, you know, and then we went and got it printed. But the printer was a different printer, and they used paper which was a fraction heavier each page. But when it all kind of came together, it was like a fraction of a gram over. But that was enough to put it into the next shipping bracket to pay an extra $10 per postage. Now I can't go back to the people and go, hey, can you give me another $10 because our paper's thicker this time? So I had to eat that, you know. So you know, you have to kind of just make sure you know exactly the weight of everything and all that in order to make sure you don't lose any money. You know, for me. And if you want me to keep making this stuff, there's a profit margin is very slim on this year. So I just need to make sure that, you know, I can pay the people I need to pay and, you know, get it printed up and all the shipping and all that covered for it. But yeah, that's what it's stressful running it all the time. I like just making stuff, you know, I hate selling stuff, but I need to pay for it. And, you know, if I put this out through a proper book distributor in bookstores, trust me, if I wanted to get the same kind of cut I get at the moment, I'd have to sell it for like $250, you know, $300, because that's how little you get when you're selling through bookshop stores.
Yeah.
And yeah, but you know, I am keen to bring it over at some point. I might come over and do a meet and greet later in the year once they arrive in LA, the books. If anyone's keen, that is, because I've got to come to LA anyway. I might have to pop around to a few other cities to see where the shows are playing in Chicago and places like that. Now, if I do, I might try and I don't even know if there's enough of an audience, because I put the call out like last year to see if anyone was keen. I think we got maybe about 15 people who are like, yeah. So I won't go to a city just for like one meet and greet. I might need to wait till I get a bigger audience.
Yeah,
but
sure.
that's going to be more and more of an opportunity, me going on to like other podcasts talking about it and everything. So hopefully that'll generate more people interested, and more people interested means I can make it faster, you know, because I can justify the expense faster of making all these other books. But we have locked off our full titles. So like we've got the next book realistically is Ghostbusters, because I've shot half of that already. Like it's half complete, you know, and we're almost finishing writing it now. So if I do come over later in the year, I'll probably shoot the rest of the Ghostbusters stuff then. And then I doubt if I have it in time for Christmas, but early next year. Now, I do have my feature film coming out this year too, Ugly Carter. This has been in the works for a while. We got it up and shot it so quickly. Like in 3 months, I wrote it, raised the money, and shot it. But then I did in such a way that there's only one way to kind of edit it. And we missed our window on that because the editor had some family issues and then some health issues. And anyway, then we had to start running into other projects. And then, so it's been very stop-start finishing that, but we plan to have that finished and premiering in October in Australia. So if I do bring it overseas, I might do a select screening somewhere if there's enough of an audience in the States to, you know, see the film or something like that. But the goal is to sell it. So, you know, hopefully I won't have to do too many of those screenings. But I just want to kind of generate its own little buzz around about it. Because it is weird. It's different, like all my stuff. Now, if that works, great. We'll be making another film early next year. And then I'll be going straight on to Metropolis and Themyscira. And I'll be shooting some of that in Australia, some of that in the US. But I also am building a new show next year, a new pop culture show, which I can't really announce what it is at the moment. But if you like all the stuff I do, you're going to love this. But that's coming out. And then pretty much after that, that's our kind of, for the next 2 years, that's kind of our thing, is making this YouTube series, trying to make one film a year, one book a year, and one show a year for the next kind of 2 to 3 years. And then after that, we're basically moving on to King Films full time, essentially. But original stuff, like, you know, if you like what I do with Gotham, wait till you see what I'm working on. Like, you like that world building. You know, I've got like 6 different worlds I've created for this network. And one of them is a superhero world, but it's very postmodern. Like, it's kind of like a spaghetti western is to classic Hollywood westerns, you know? It's a lot more darker, a lot more, you know, grittier, more ground level, street level. I'm sick of seeing these cosmic events. I want to get back to street level shit, you know? And, you know, I come from the 90s, so it's got more of an independent cinema vibe to it. Like, and people might call me egotistic saying this, but it's kind of like, what if Quentin Tarantino did a superhero film, you know, in the 90s? He kind of did with Kill Bill in a way. So, but like that kind of tone, you know, like Kill Bill's tone. It's crazy. It's over the top, you know.
I think he was going to direct a Star Trek film at one point, which I think ended up not happening. And I remember being really excited hearing that because I was like, "Oh, that'll be an interesting spin with him at the helm." But
Yeah.
it never happened.
Well, he was meant to do. He wanted to do Luke. He wanted to do Luke Cage for years. I was talking about all through the '90s. Him directing Luke Cage. He had a whole black
Yeah,
exploitation spin on it, which would have been fucking amazing.
yeah.
You know, I'm just after good stories now. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
just to tell you, like, I'll show, like, just to give you an idea of like my, this is like my superhero universe. I got 2 TV series. I've got one, two, three, four, five, six, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 projects, 14 films and two TV series based on this idea. It is so fucking like they're just fun. Some of them's like you know you can say that these stories have already been done, but all of them already have as well. But like, why has no one done like a proper Mortal Kombat with supervillains?
Mhm.
You know, simple and as simple as kind of what I want to see at the moment. I don't want to have all this like um plot bullshit and stuff anymore. Just give me fucking good movies like The Crow. Like The
Yeah,
Crow's a great superhero film,
yeah,
you know? And you don't feel corny watching it or talking about it. Like it's embarrassing going to see some of this shit these days. It's like I can't defend it anymore. Yeah, no, it's pretty corny. Yeah. But
yeah.
I said it negative, but this is all coming from a very positive place. I generally think we're about to hit a very exciting time where people are going to be like pushing. Like I think YouTube has neutered a lot of creativity out there. Like the way people even talk now. Like, is this become a thing where people on all these kind of like crime podcasts and things they say unalive in case they said this person was unalive, meaning dead,
Oh,
because they get flagged by saying death or dead or something like
yeah.
that.
YouTube's been rolling out a lot more censorship stuff to their algorithm with like certain words where it like won't necessarily get removed, but it could get demonetized or anything like that. All right, we've got that
I
going.
sent you. I sent you through some just little mock-up images from like one of the superhero films I'm working on.
Ooh, awesome.
Have a look at your emails just quick. There's only 3 images, but this would be a fun thing where people go, "Ooh, what are they looking at? What are they looking at?" But like, not apologetically, superhero kind of thing. Like, I can't even compare it. The closest thing I can kind of compare it to my world is like a very dark version of My Hero or One Punch Man.
Yeah,
You know, a very yeah, it's an established world or Kingdom Come. You know, something like that.
yeah. I'm getting kind of like, especially on the last image, I'm getting kick-ass vibes and My Hero Academia and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, that guy is called Monkey Messiah, and he has a weapon. I won't go into too many things. Actually, better keep all this stuff quiet.
That's fair.
But yeah, it's they're all like they're evolving where we should be going with these type of stories and everything. It's more getting into, like, for example, I went and saw the Spider. I saw the Spider-Man 2 game footage the other week. And you're like, why the fuck aren't we getting this? You know? And then they drop Craven trailer. I'm like, who's asking for this?
And apparently
You
he
know,
got
like,
stars because he got lion's blood in his bloodstream or something.
yeah, he's Lion Man.
I was a little
You know,
like,
because yeah, it is what it is. But it's just like, guys, we're not asking for the shit. Like, why can't you give us like good stories? You know, and they're like, you know, it has to be IP. I'm like, no, it just has to be good. You know, and people have been trained in a way. Like my favorite thing when I was a kid was going to the video store and picking out a movie. It was my favorite thing. These days, when I go to Netflix, it's the least thing I like doing is picking a movie.
mhm,
Most nights I fall asleep to YouTube or whatever because picking something is exhausting these days. There's no magic, there's no engagement, you know. So anything we make, we want to engage people. We want them to go, okay, this is something I haven't seen before. If they have seen it before, it's just done really well. You know, it's like, and like if they want disposable content, like you have to realize most people are going to watch things once these days and then move on. So
yeah,
if you want to hold their attention, you have to give them something that's going to get their attention. You know, because with the streaming platform, everyone goes, "Oh, it's a tough market." I'm like, well, not the level I'm trying to hit. I'm not trying to make it for everybody. I'm trying to be specific. I'm trying to do what Image Comics did to the comic industry in the 90s. I want to do that to the streaming industry, where you go there because you're getting something you're not getting from the bigger ones, you know. And for us, it's the stories. We just have to make stuff that they're not going to make or refuse to make, you know.
Yeah, because when you get to that level, there's not a huge market, not a huge chance of being lost in the noise because you've got something that's like you're proud of it. It's that next level. So people latch
But
on to
that's it. And you look at stuff like Willow, Westworld,
yeah,
Dark Crystal, like, you know, Raised by Wolves, like those massive projects employed hundreds and hundreds of people. Some people would have spent years on these projects, absolutely years. People might even run around the idea for 10 years before they even got looking or whatever. And some of them, like Willow, will be on Disney for less than 6 months and then get stripped and never be seen again, you know? And that's kind of a dick move. They're now moving into things going, oh, wait, we don't have to pay royalties and everything if we just take this stuff off our thing. So they're going to be looking for short engagements to their platforms because they realize giving everything to everybody is not what human psyche wants. They want to be challenged. They want to be developed, you know, even though you might not like going to the gym, but you like the results of the gym. You know what I mean? And that's what they've got to do with this content. They've got to put in the fucking work. You know, that's when audience will react to it. And if you're making stuff like, no offense to any of these new filmmakers, I think they've got a really hard job ahead of them going into these giant corporations and getting bulldozed because they want the opportunity to show who they are and the story they can tell. But then they're kind of got their hands tied behind their back while they're directing and making things because, you know, it's done by committee. There's too much money involved. We need to get these things made for cheaper in order for people to have the freedom to kind of get their voices out there, you know. And whether it's, I'm using film as an example, but this is across the board. Music, like any artistic expression with a commercial agenda, is always going to struggle with the money men of the industry and the middlemen because the middlemen are disappearing. So they're trying to create ways to all the like suits to kind of get fed from this content. And I just think, no, let's get back to the 20s. Let's get back to the 70s. Let's get back to the 90s. At these points in history, so we have these big cultural like change, you know, where the status quo changed. Like in the 20s, you had film get invented for the first time, and people didn't even know what it was. So you had the artists who became very powerful really quickly, like, you know, Charlie Chaplin, Marie Pickford, and, you know, Douglas Fairbanks and all that. They created United Artists purely so artists could make their own stuff. And they had their own cinema, you know, and that cinema you can still go down there at the Ace Theatre downtown LA, you know, because they had that Hollywood system and everything back then. So they wanted the freedom. Now, for me, I believe we need the same thing now. They did in the 70s as well with New Wave, you know. So all the 70s was like Taxi Driver, Easy Rider, like in so many Godfather, like all that stuff out of the 70s was the New Wave movement, but also the New Wave in genre films like exploitation. So yeah, two lowbrow and highbrow, both firing all cylinders. And then the 80s was great because I grew up in the 80s, but for films, it was all about money and being successful and happy endings and stuff like that. Then the 90s, we had independent come back and go, no, things are fucked up. You know, they're not the stories we're being fed from the studios. We want to have real stories, you know. And then we're in this weird spot at the moment where the stories are getting made for clips and algorithms and, you know, things like that. Where it's just like, guys, like music's getting created for fucking TikTok videos. That's if you want to get signed, you have to have a package like a social media following of X amount. It doesn't matter about the quality of music. We can get other people to take care of that. But you need to be able to sell you, which has always been a thing, but it's been boiled down to the most grossest vibe at the moment, you know. So for me, I just kind of the next 2 years is transitional into becoming a fully fledged film studio. And yeah, the books are part of it. The stage shows are part of it. Everything's part of it. The journey and the kind of fandom I'm kind of building at the moment with our kind of audience is something what I hope can grow with the studio. And, you know, they're the first ones who get to see what we kind of want to bring to them.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I'm really excited to see which direction you guys go in and all that stuff coming out.
We'll see if it works or not. You know, we're playing with the big boys with very limited resources, but we have the right people involved, you know. Well, and it's been done before, you know.
Yeah, I would speak a lot of us when I say we're excited to see it happen. One way or another, we're rooting
Well,
for it.
I've got over 300 film treatments written.
Nice.
So, and my goal is I'm treating it like a record label where I'm kind of be the head of the label to a degree, and I'll probably hire people better than me to actually run the business side of things. But first, creative direction of it, the creation of it. But basically, we want it accessible to people. It's going to be free, it's going to be fun, and it's just going to be stuff which, yeah, like, you know, I could list a whole bunch of films off, but like, you know, like I love 90s Japanese cinema as well, like stuff like uh Shark Skin Man and Peach Hit Girl, you know, like crazy batshit things like Wild Zero, you know, True Man, like all these weird films like Electric Dragon, I think it's let's see, Electric Dragon 80,000 volts or something like that, which is an hour-long black and white film about these two guys possessed by like electricity dragon, like a dragon spirits inside them. But it's in modern day, and it's just the build up to them meeting each other. It's like a music video, but it's got so much fucking style. I'm like, why don't we have any superhero films like this? And so anime comes to life, and instead of trying to make anime live action, figure out what anime live action looks like.
Yeah.
You know. And I try to tell people, they go, what is, I go, it's the energy. You don't try and recreate the shots, try and recreate the feeling and the energy.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what people forget. Like for me, watching the start of Akira has a certain feeling. Now, if that opening shot of whatever they do live action doesn't have that feeling, I'll walk out because there's no point trying to do it if you can't focus in on what actually makes it good. Like, for example, the original Ninja Turtles comic, the original Ninja Turtles cartoon, and the original Ninja Turtles film, very different tones, but they lent in to the format. You know what I mean? And each one of those I loved. I loved the comic, I loved the cartoon, and I loved the original movie because they lent into the format. If they just tried to do the comic cartoon or the cartoon into film, it wouldn't have worked. You know, it would have looked shit and crap and wouldn't have felt good, you know, but you have to recreate the feeling. And that's the problem these days with like your Cowboy Bebop and God forbid if One Piece is going to be any good or not. But like, you know, you got to recreate what those stories make you feel, you know? And for me, like, if you want to recreate anime, it might be a weird thing as a reference, but go and look at the first 5 minutes of Romeo and Juliet from the 90s, the Baz Luhrmann one. The hyper, like, it's corny as all fuck, like, you know, flicking around the guns and all that, and then just doing Shakespearean, you know, accents. You have to be willing to sign on for that film. Otherwise, you're not going to enjoy it. But if you're willing to sign on and enjoy what it is meant to be, then you'll have fun with it. But that kinetic energy in the first 5 minutes and the way they set up the characters and the over-the-topness of it all, that could be refined better, but that could be a great anime transition. The problem is when you have all the toys, then you lose out on the creativity, you know, as far as, yeah, I don't need everything to look like it's exactly the shots from the anime because it's never going to be that good. But how about you try and make it like an Akira Kurosawa film? You know, if I'm still doing a Studio Ghibli film, I'm not looking at Studio Ghibli to try and do my compositions. I'm looking at their references, what they based it on, which was like someone like Akira Kurosawa, and look at his framing and his kind of color scheme and color theory and whatnot. And they're the ones I'll bring into it when I'm kind of trying to tell those stories, you know? Is this interesting? Because I feel like I'm talking a lot more into like my process more than actually what we're doing or anything. But
I find it
getting boring. Just I don't know. It's just like I could just answer the stories, but questions. But I feel like
I'm a story.
Yeah, my process is like.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's an inherent human nature. Storytelling. Everyone can do it. That's why when it's not done properly, everyone can pick up why it's not good. You know, you don't need to have to be a film director to know that a film's not edited correctly because you've been grown on screen language. And more so these days, everyone consumes so much screen content, they know when something's out. You know, they might not be able to explain it, but they know how to, they know to say when that doesn't feel right, you know?
And I play Dungeons and Dragons from time to time, and I'm a game master, and I just love kind of like building all those elements and making the pieces come together and things like that. So like hearing other people's processes of how they do that and all the different mediums that takes is just so fascinating to me. And I'm sure, I hope it's fascinating to you guys watching too, because I could sit here all day and talk about this shit, but
yeah, I've been keeping to myself a lot lately, like working on a lot of this shit.
Yep.
So my brain's quite full of theories and concepts and stuff. And when I get them out, I usually like, I don't need to talk about that for a while. But yeah, we're like, it's a really exciting time at the moment. It's really scary for a lot of people, but it's very exciting at the same time.
Yeah. All right. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about, just to keep you guys watching in the loop too, because I know I put a video out, I want to say maybe a month ago, 2 months ago, talking about like kind of why I was taking a hiatus from uploading and stuff. And part of it was mental health. The other part was wanting to take like dedicated time to really get this next season of Gotham 1919 to 1939 down pat. Like I wanted it to be something I could dedicate the time and effort I wanted to. I'm really excited to share it. Kind of back to what we were talking about earlier. Did a lot of deep diving for like archival footage and stuff that's true to that era. So a lot less black and white B-roll stuff. There might be still a little bit of that in there because there is like a certain charm to it, like you were saying, like the cheesiness of it.
Yeah, like I said to you, that a lot of that was a lot in more so in your earlier stuff, and that's the thing. Like I want to use that as an example of you growing, and I kind of let Batfeed do what they want with the stories, unless it's a massive departure. Then I'll go, oh, that's not quite right. Usually, I just pick up if I think he's made a mistake or something, and I usually just kind of remind him because the internet's going to remind him for the end of days. So, generally speaking, yeah. You've done what I hoped what the book was done, which is engage you at such a level that you start actually researching a lot more and then becoming, a fan of history as much as you have comics.
Sure. Yeah. But yeah, like I'm really excited to get this rolling. It just so happened that it's going to be coming out around the same time that you guys reopen pre-orders for the book, so that's great.
Yeah, and our short series will probably start in about a month or so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So I asked people kind of for their questions, and we both already looked at them a little bit, but I'll go through. And if your specific question isn't mentioned, it's only because someone else probably already asked the same question, so just want to listen for it. And we'll also cover some of like the main questions that we both get a lot.
Do you just want to start off with those and just hit me, and I'll give a quick answer just on the regulars, what we always usually get.
All right. So the biggest one, I think.
Can I just do a couple just straight the head?
Yeah, go for
One,
it.
I'm not going to be doing Spider-Man. I'm not going to be doing Spider-Man. Two, Terry McGinnis is in the universe. How? What? Where? It's in the book. Get it? But in saying that, you got to realize, guys, the more you want everything in there, the less it takes away from other stories. So in our stuff, like the more I put in certain things, the more it takes away from other stories what might suit it better. So currently, Batman Beyond is a feature film made in the 1950s based on Batman. It's a science fiction film. Batman Beyond, is that kind of vibe. And that tells that story. Now, there's a lot of deep cuts in that as well. If you look at the poster and look at the names and all that kind of stuff, you can probably go deep diving on that as well. But it's referenced in the universe. But The Dark Knight Returns happens in my story, and that role of Terry is really passed on to Kelly. And Damian is a major factor still in the universe. So I could tell you Batman Beyond and try and really flesh out that and make that the future and tell a story that and I can't really add much more to it than what I have. Or you can get something new and ties in all the favorite things you like and presents it in something new and different. And that's the one I'm kind of leaning into. The other one is PDF, digital format. No, we'll never be that. What's the other regulars? We'll be doing any other cities like Central City or anything. Oh, yeah. No, we'll just be doing Gotham, Themyscira, Metropolis. Through those big three, you'll get access to pretty much most of the DC universe. Yeah. But this isn't a blow-by-blow play. This is a history book. You fill in the gaps.
Yep. Yeah. I think that pretty much covers our bases, at least for this round of questions. All right. So
I've got nothing personal against Spider-Man, but I'm just Spider-Man out.
That's fair. And too, if you guys want to see a like pseudo historical Terry McGinnis, keep an eye on my 1889 series because I'm planning on doing one there.
You sell out.
Yeah, I know. All right. So for the first question, we got Vincent Charles Burns on Instagram asked, since Gotham was grounded in your gangster/mafia book, how grounded will your science fiction Superman be? Like based on theoretical science, and for the Wonder Woman fantasy, will it be based on like real myths? And then he says, "Sorry for the paragraph, lol."
Pretty much it. So basically, you look at real things in history, what could align to it. So, for example, a big catalyst, what happens in Metropolis book, just so you know, is Superman's quite naive at the beginning and wants to help humans out. So he gives access to the government, the American government, when he's younger, access to his ship and some of the stuff from Krypton, some of the science and stuff. And a group's being formed out of the best minds in the world at the time. And some of these are real historical figures. Some of them are going to be famous scientists from whatnot, from the comics. Now, this group is similar to the Manhattan Project.
Okay.
So a whole bunch of scientists got put together basically to form the atomic bomb. But a lot of them wanted just funding to do this new type of study, you know? And then when they saw what their weapon did, well, you got the movie Oppenheimer coming, you'll see what happens in that. But Oppenheimer is part of this group. Now, this group who have been put together with the civilian liaison like Luthor to study all this stuff. Now, what happens is so much stuff gets created out of this group. This group gets even to collect their membership coin, which is the Manhattan Project. They all got membership coins. I don't know if you ever noticed that. You can Google it, it's there. But they got these membership coins. We're going to do the same thing, but these membership coins are going to say Star Labs. And basically, he, after a number of months seeing that all his research is getting leaked and made to use some weapons and everything, he shuts it down and takes his stuff away. But all those scientists go on to create cosmic rods, Amazo, like you name it, it comes out of that group. And then some of the information gets leaked overseas and sold to other people. So one of the groups will come out of that, starts a cloning process. Some of that cloning process gets leaked to the Nazis, and like Mengele's experiments of the twins are very much linked to that. You find out where Bane's venom, that was originally made as a steroid, and it was a lot more stable and not more full on as venom. But that was originally Owlman's formula. So, like, I'm using as much as I can, trying to give everything a reason and a starting point of where it comes from. And that venom and the Owlman formula is derived from these this liquid, this tainted water, which is found certain spots around the world. And when you use that as the main ingredient, that links to the Lazarus Pit.
That's
Now, with all with the Lazarus Pit, the reason that water's like that because it was these springs got exposed to this kryptonite basically over 1 million years ago. And what happened was they used kryptonite to help develop the human race, and because humans are very applicable, they're very susceptible to be force evolution. So we're Neanderthals, were cavemen, and then basically they came to Earth. The old gods came to Earth. I'm relieving too much stuff here now, and this is more Wonder Woman stuff. But then it gives us a science based for when you go into Superman kind of thing. And then basically kryptonite was used for a lot of stuff. It was the most valuable substance in the world, in the universe, next to ninth metal. And the first old gods came. There's been different gods who have come and taken over Earth at different periods of time. Like the Garians were Egypt, for example. But the old gods go right back. And they need people to worship them. That's where their power comes from. And the cavemen weren't smart enough. So they need to evolve the whole human race. So they use that and they used it on one particular evolution method, which is like keep killing the same person over and over again and repairing them, bringing them back. And the person they did to a bunch of them, but the main one they did it to was Vandal Savage. And that's how he got his immortality and stuff like that. But I also gave him the power that he can, Superman gets ill around him because kryptonite is infused with his DNA.
Yeah, that question.
So there's things like that where I'm kind of, that's a very basic version of it. But like taking a fantasy aspect of Wonder Woman and becoming a pseudoscience of Superman, but then the effects are still felt in Batman. You know what I mean? On a street level kind of situation.
Yeah, that question opens a whole can of worms. You guys might have to.
Oh, it does, and that's been the biggest thing, man. Like,
yeah,
just working out how to keep all this stuff grounded, you know.
Yep.
And I have, but also, is it now in our world or is it in this alternative world? Because Gotham, you could say no, that actually happened. We just, it was in that city, but now these are like massive events. So, are these common knowledge to everybody, or are you getting a book and it's like almost like this is conspiracy being covered up and I'm telling the truth? So you have to wait to see how I play that. But yeah, I'm like the Gotham. If I do re-release the Gotham book, it will be completely different. It will be part of a bit more of this universe. At the moment, the Gotham books can kind of be standalone crime books, especially the first one. But moving forward, it's going to be very very like I don't want to give too much away because part of it's the journey of doing it. But there's a reason why Superman ends in 1945 and Wonder Woman ends in 1963.
All right. So for our next one, we got AJ Lambrew on 8840 on YouTube. What do you think happened to Joker after the ending of the book?
I will never answer that question. The Joker's better if you don't know about him. He's an enigma. He's the opposite of Batman in so many ways because he doesn't have a drive like Batman does. Batman has this clear catalyst or origin story, which everyone knows. The Joker, who knows? And that's what I find way more interesting about him than trying to answer all the questions, is trying to figure out what is he. He's better work. He's a philosophy more than anything. He's an idea. He's a catalyst. He's the match what starts the fire.
Yep.
And I don't care what came before. I don't care what came after. He's in the now. So I appreciate everyone wanting like closure, but it's way more scary knowing that he just escaped from Arkham and he's out there somewhere.
Yeah. And who knows, maybe that gives.
I also joke that he's actually placed himself in the Batman Follies of in the stage show in universe.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Because the funny thing is, the guy who plays Joker actually played the Joker in the stage show as well. So, he went on to play himself on stage. I like that idea.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of like Jar Jar Binks. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So, hello there, 05 on Discord. You kind of answered this.
Hello there.
Hello there. You kind of answered this already, but he's asking, has production begun on Metropolis 1925, 1945? And if it has...
Metropolis has started on... Oh, sorry, go on, second part.
If it has, is there anything you can tell us about it yet? And you kind of already did, too, but I figured I would shout this out.
Yeah, like, production, I'm working on everything all at once. This is how my brain works. I mentioned earlier, I'm dyslexia and ADHD, so my brain jumps around a lot. It's torture for my employees, but it's how I can make things. I'm working on probably about 15 to 20 projects at once all the time. And I know it sucks because it slows things down, but when it speeds up and when I have plans and everything, I don't really stop because I kind of have a break by working on something else and I go back and doing over a period of time. Like I made the first book over 10 years. And again, that was just because I got really busy in the middle there. Like I started off strong and then there was this massive gap where I thought, I'm not going to finish it. And then when I went back, I had a very clear idea of where I want to take the story. And it took me about another year and a half to finish it. So it was really 3.5 years, but with a big gap in the middle. But I also did that because I wanted some of the characters to get older and whatnot. And so for me, I don't rush these things. When it's ready, it'll be ready. But I am trying to have those out within the kind of 12 to 18 months, both titles.
Yeah. All right. Next one is This Cat is D on Discord. I'm not sure what that means. Does the Metropolis book...
What is it?
This dash cat dash is dash capital D.
No.
Idea. Does the Metropolis book adapt J.M. DeMatteis's run on Justice League International at all?
Which one's that run? What happens in that run? I'm shitting names. So.
I honestly don't remember either. If I'm being honest.
Honestly, probably not, unless it's something huge. Like these original takes on stories out there. So history is usually the thing that dictates how I kind of construct the story and everything. But yeah, like maybe, I don't know. I'm pulling from a lot of stuff. So, but they are my take on it. So anything what makes sense into the world we're building, We'll probably pop its head in. I like trying to put as much stuff in there for you guys as possible. So, you don't need a full page to acknowledge somebody. You just need something. Like I always say this in Gotham, like the Black Canary Easter egg.
Mhm.
It's basically I have a photo of a cop holding something, and it's Black Canary's father as the cop. But then that acknowledges her in that universe, which then acknowledges so much more stuff in that universe. So there's a lot of stuff in there, even if they haven't got a full page and costume breakdown, they're mentioned in some format. So, I pull from a lot of things, maybe not. We'll see. I'll have to go back and research what that storyline is.
All right. This one's from Lux. We love you.
Oh, Lux.
Lux. And he asked this on Discord. Although you make your books very realistic, is something like Flashpoint possible to see? Can Flash go to the past or future? This is probably in lieu of the Flash movie dropping recently.
Yeah, like you could. I always find when the Flash gets to that kind of power level, you have nowhere to go with him anymore. Like what can you do when he can literally change events in the past and the future and all that? And don't get me wrong, I don't mind if he's a man out of time kind of thing where he's stuck and he's trying to get back and everything. Like, if the Flash did like a quantum leap thing where he kept trying to get home and kept ending up in the wrong place. Yeah. But like, I still haven't seen a good Flash film yet. I would like to see good speedster film. Like, they don't need to break the sound barrier or anything. Just give me what Dash does in The Incredibles.
Yeah. That'd be really
cool. Like, I haven't even seen the Flash movie. I'm just not excited about that DCU. And I'm not excited about Marvel or anything. That's the problem. Like, when your excitement goes, like, that's when it gets worrying. So, like, I've got a super speedster in my universe called Motion Sickness. And if I'm going to use my ideas, I'm going to use them on that. So the Flash will be in the books, though. So there'll be plenty of the Flash the books. There'll be all the Flashes, even Impulse.
Nice. I am excited to see all these different iterations of the Justice League characters. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Well, Justice Society. I'm gonna be doing Justice Society as well. We got tons, man. We got so many fucking groups in there. It's not funny.
This was, let's see, from Joker Knight 1247 on YouTube. Are there any plans to hang on a sec? I think I'm missing a word in here somewhere. Are there any plans to, I'm guessing, continue the 1919 to 1939 series, maybe with Teen Titans or Dark Knight Returns? I'm assuming maybe that this person doesn't have the book. However, I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of these people who ask those questions haven't actually seen the book itself. They're pretty self-contained, like, epics. Like, trust me, like, everyone asking about this stuff, you kind of, asking for dessert before you've seen dinner. Like, it's part of it. Like, the 3 books is going to cover a lot of stuff, guys, like a lot. It's going to be close to 1,000 pages over the 3 books, which, it's going to cover a lot. Like, part of it is coming up with your own stories. It's almost like Dungeons and Dragons. I create the rules and the world and the characters and stuff and the backgrounds, but you guys can run with it. That's the beautiful thing, is that, like, most history books don't tell you a blow-by-blow account of everybody's life.
All right, cool. Ryan Allen 627 on YouTube. Were there any characters or storylines you wanted to include that didn't make the cut? And what was your favorite thing about making Gotham 1919 to 1939? And let's see.
I'll quickly answer that.
Yeah.
If you want me to. So basically that one is no, because I did everything I wanted to do in it. There's a few characters I would have liked to put in there if we had the space in the book, but we might one day, who knows. But I did, it's pretty chockers in there. Honestly, just cracking a character, like reinterpreting a character, make it make sense. Like someone like Batmite, who shouldn't work, but you might find a way to make him work, is very fulfilling. And it's not cringe. Next.
Yeah. All right, Ghost Warrior 3878 on YouTube. Do you have a rough time frame on release for the Metropolis and Themyscira books? You kind of already covered this. Sounds like a book.
Yeah, when it's done, it's done.
Yep. Mm-hmm. All right, Black Eel 1 on YouTube. Are there any plans to add the Justice Society of America to this universe?
It's already in there. Have you got the book? Because I do mention them in the Gotham.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like through Wildcat, like through Wildcat and stuff.
Yeah.
All right, next question. We're almost got through.
That's all I got because the only other questions were all ones.
Boom, smashed it.
So there we go.
So basically, long story short is the last 12 months has been about building, like getting some of my old businesses up and self-sufficient, so I don't have to give as much time to over them. Now, in a couple of months, I'll start getting a lot more time given back to me, and they'll be reinvested in new projects and finishing off projects what we've been promising everybody. Like I said, this is great, but it's not my main income, and I need to be able to keep my company growing and whatnot. But yeah, over the next few years, we're going to be busting out books, shows, and a few films, but then with the main goal that everything's going to become a film company within a few years.
Yeah. And you're going to see
awesome.
You're going to see a lot more stuff coming from the Batfeed too now that we're back on the train. And don't forget to jump on the book, like pre-order it if you want, just to throw that
Order
out.
now. It's open until the end of the week, and that's it. We close off orders at the end of the week.
And pick that up if you can. So thanks again, Russell. It's always great talking.
Awesome, guys. Thanks, everybody. And yeah, thanks for the support. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a good one.